The Nintendo Entertainment System has been around for going on 31 years at the time that I'm recording this video, and it is absolutely an iconic piece of gaming hardware. I'm sure all of you know the legacy and the stories all behind this, and I'm sure some of you have more than a few of your own. And when it comes down to all the games that came out for the system, there were well over 700, including unlicensed games. That's quite a lot, and to really do an A to Z for this justice, I didn't think I should be doing this one alone, so I've brought a few friends along. So without further ado, here is the NES A to Z.
American Gladiators for your Nintendo Entertainment System. Climb a wall, fall off a wall, take out the trash, shoot a tank with a rocket. Hit a guy with Q-tips. Bugle sticking action. Only for Nintendo. Now you're playing with power. American gladiatorial power. Your parents help you hook it up.
B is for Bad Dudes, a port of the 1988 beat-em-up arcade game by Data East. In this game, the president is kidnapped by ninjas and it's up to you to save him. Let's be different here and ask the main character for his opinion. Now, what do you think of the game, Blade? How about the gameplay? And the graphics? How about the concept? Well, no arguing with that. Let's go get a burger.
This is Castlevania by NES Addict. C as in Count Dracula himself. A as in kicking serious ass. S for Simon Belmont. T for Transylvania. L as in longer whip. You're gonna need it. E for evil. The fight with death is pure evil. V for vampire bat. A for awakened, because every 100 years at Castlevania it's Simon's quest to rid Dracula's curse. N for night, because it's nighttime from beginning to end. I as in I love this game. A for another form, because just when you think it's over, there's another form of Dracula, and that's Castlevania.
Die Hard is a great game on the NES. Die Hard, this is a piece of shit. Ducktales is a great game on the NES. There is a reason why this makes so many top 10 lists on the console. It is damn near perfect example of what a game should be. Fantastic soundtrack, spot on controls, really great visuals, and just overall a really decently done game. This wasn't rushed out and just shovelware crap. There was actually a little bit of heart put into this one, and it belongs on your NES shelf.
E is for Excitebike, one of the launch titles for the NES when Nintendo brought their hardware to the West. Excitebike is a motocross game where you race against the clock to beat the record time set for each course. In Selection A, you'll race alone to compete for the best record in a time trial-like setting. The A button makes your bike go and the B button kicks it into overdrive. They'll watch that temperature gauge. Each course features a new lineup of obstacles to tackle. Ramps and bumps will test your skill. If you don't tackle these roadblocks efficiently, you'll fall from your bike. Selection B gives you the same races as before, but now you'll be squaring off against a cadre of other bikers. The goal is the same, however, just beat the best time listed for each course. The most fun mode in the game, and the one I spent the most time with as a kid, is creating your own courses. You have your pick of all the obstacles in the game to choose from, and having your friends play through your creations is a ton of fun. Excitebike!
F is for Faxanadu, 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 whatever. However you pronounce it, This game is awesome. Faxanadu is perhaps a bit overshadowed by the game it was clearly inspired by, Zelda 2, and it's easy to see why, as the similarities are quite obvious. However, Faxanadu is so much more than that. In Faxanadu, you are an elven warrior returning home to Aeolus only to find it overrun by monsters and the World Tree under attack. The king tasks you with defeating the evil, restoring the World Tree, and saving your home. It's got a bit of a learning curve with weak, short-range attacks at the beginning and some clunky controls overall. But if you are willing to commit the time, learn, and grow, you are in for a very worthy adventure. After all, as the tagline says, daggers and wing boots, mantras and monsters await you.
G is for the Guardian Legend, also the Game Grinder, which is the channel I'm from, and I'm Church. Jeez, off to a nice start here. Move over, Samus, we've got a new heroine in town. Miria, our female shape-shifting aerobot gynoid, is a force to be reckoned with in this sci-fi action-adventure shoot-'em-up hybrid, with some light RPG elements tossed in for good measure. With a large explorable world like Zelda's isometric levels, and a vertical shooter for our dungeon-like areas, this hidden gem is quite unique for the NES and a definite must-play.
H. Hillsfar is an RPG that's not an RPG as much as a collection of mini-games contained within a sandbox environment. Despite its de-emphasis on combat and complete lack of experience system, Hillsfar is the closest approximation of a pen and paper experience that you can find on an 8-bit console. The game gives you no initial direction nor expositionary storyline. You simply roll a character and set off to make a name for your avatar in the titular city of Hillsfar and its surrounding province. Eventually, you realize that in order to advance the storyline, that you'll need to drop in at your class-appropriate guild and accept a series of scavenger hunts masked as quests. Your adventures will lead you all over the city and beyond, tracking down NPCs and looking for quest items. During the natural course of gameplay, you will ride horses through the most inconvenient roads in the Forgotten Realms, challenge fearsome monsters to armed combat in the arena, play keep away from patrolling guards while treasure borrowing, bump into random wandering NPCs, compete in archery tourneys, pick locks, and get roughed up by bandits.
I is for IronSword, Wizards and Warriors 2, a fantasy adventure starring Fabio. Nah, I'm serious. Whose attack animations look less like sword swings and more like he's fapping the sausage. IronSword focuses on vertical gameplay, so that means a lot of jumping and falling. There's something about the image of a tall, skinny knight with a penis helmet going up and down, and constantly going into holes. Rare, you cheeky monkeys. Tim Curry knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, toxic love.
But oh my god, the birds! There's so many bird enemies right out of the gate, ready to knock you off your vertical path all the way down to the beginning. Over and over. Wow, this game really is modeled after Fabio since that bird hit him in the face on that roller coaster back in the 90s. What, you don't remember that?
1988 was a big year for Konami, releasing many classic titles for the NES, including Contra, Blades of Steel, and Simon's Quest. But another silver box game released that same year might not have been as popular, but can certainly hold its own against those titans of 1988. Jackal.
Jackal is a co-op, top-down, run-and-gun style action game that has you and a friend scurrying around in jeeps, trying to save POWs from buildings and getting them back to the chopper.
Get to the chopper!
With multiple weapon upgrades to take out the many soldiers, guns, and tanks, Jackal's non-stop action will keep your blood pumping and your thumbs bumping. Having only 6 levels, Jackal is a relatively short game, but the fantastic music, clever level design, and bombastic boss battles will make this short but sweet action-packed game one that you'll go back to again and again.
So if you've never played Jackal or haven't played it in a long time, I highly recommend you pop this little guy in and give it a go.
Earth, 2056. The defense computer protecting the entire planet has been infiltrated by a constantly mutating virus. One lone volunteer, Scott O'Connor, has the courage to face the virus in the digital world. The Quantum Fighter. 6 levels of challenging action, unequaled game control, and a surprising arsenal of digital weapons. Only on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
L is for The Lone Ranger, a 1991 Konami game that was released only in North America. It's a multi-genre game with an RPG top-down style, much like Legend of Zelda or other games. There's towns where you need to meet objectives to unlock the next part of the map, making this game have 8 sections, and in classic NES fashion, increase with difficulty. Within each area, you'll be exploring towns which have a semi-open world field, where you can go to stores, buy stuff like ammo and dynamite, or even go to a shooting range. While exploring towns, so don't shoot innocent people, that's not nice. Often on this journey to reach your next adventure, you'll be playing side-scrolling levels or even first-person exploration levels. While multi-genre NES games are ambitious, they often suffer in one or more areas, but this game's done right. You can even use the Konami Laser Scope or the NES Zapper in these first-person parts, but the controller works just fine. This is a hidden gem on the NES if there is still such a thing, and it's relatively still affordable, so grab a copy now or make sure this is on your flash carts, or if you want to check it out, emulate it. Still, I feel The Lone Ranger is a very solid Konami game that not enough people have played or talk about too often, so maybe give it a shot if you like good epic action adventure games, or if you're looking for something unique and different on the NES with a lot of gameplay variety.
This is the Atari Creep and Emmons for Monster Party, released in 1989 and published by Bandai. You play as Max. A kid on his way home from a baseball game was approached by a gargoyle-like alien called Bert, and you need to help him rid the dark world of evil. The game consists of 8 levels of straight weirdness, and equipped with only your baseball bat, you'll come across a number of enemies and locations consisting of classic horror tropes, along with a few monsters straight out Japanese folklore. This often overlooked side-scrolling adventure platformer has tons of personality. It chooses to be bizarre, and trust me, it's very bizarre. A textbook cult classic for all you weirdos like me, and I highly recommend it.
I'm here today to talk to you about Ninja Gaiden 2. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Now, the game is a sequel to the first original NES game. This game involves Ryu Hayabusa trying to track down a kidnapped Irene Liu from the first game, his love interest. There's really awesome cutscenes, and action-wise, the game is phenomenal. It's a very quick, very fast-paced game that involves ninja slice and dice in action with your sword. You get really cool power-ups by attacking these orbs. So Ninja Gaiden 2, fantastic game. I can get to the boss, the end boss, no problem. It's the very, very last boss that I always have the most difficulty with. So Ninja Gaiden 2, fantastic game. And thanks Joe Goes Retro for giving me the chance to talk about this game. Take care, guys.
Operation Wolf was an arcade shooter that was on rails. It came out in '87, and it made you feel like a badass because it had 2 Uzis mounted to the arcade cabinet. It made you feel like Rambo when you were shooting down enemies and rescuing POWs. However, when the NES port came out, it was decent, but it was average at best. Instead of using the Uzi, which had auto fire, you had the NES Zapper, which was only single shot rounds. So you kinda had to make that work with that trigger finger. While not as good as the arcade port, you were able to use an NES controller in a second port and press a button to throw grenades at the screen, which was pretty cool for NES. That's actually pretty revolutionary. But that's Operation Wolf.
P is for Pac-Man. One of the greatest arcade games of all time, Pac-Man was ported to several systems including the NES. At the time, the developer of Pac-Man, Namco, didn't have an American branch, so they made an agreement with Tengen to bring some of their family computer games to the NES over to America before Namco opened its own American branch, Namco Hometech, in 1990. Tengen published it once as a licensed card and later as an unlicensed card because Tengen's owners, Atari Games, were having legal battles with Nintendo over copyright and patent infringement. Later on, Namco reissued the game and published it themselves. The Namco version is less common, and as of the time of this recording, fetches a little more money. The only thing that is significantly different between these variations, besides their casing, is the title screen. The Tengen one has a Tengen copyright, while the other one has a Namco copyright. No matter which version you have, the gameplay is identical. The reason for this is because all the NES versions, of course, are based off the exact same Famicom version. It may not be the arcade, but it's certainly a really nice port of Pac-Man and definitely worth checking out.
Q is for Qbert. Nah, I'm just kidding. Q is for Quattro Arcade. The Quattro, you get 4 games for one low price. Up first is CJ's Elephant Antics. The game has great upbeat music, and the graphics are colorful and detailed. Unfortunately, the levels aren't designed well, and it's difficult as hell. Next up is Stunt Buggies. There isn't really that much to say about it. It reminds me of Clean Sweep, which is basically just a Pac-Man clone. The music is well done, and it's fun for a couple of minutes. The absolute gem of the bunch is Go Dizzy Go. You play as Dizzy and your main goal is to collect all the fruit in the stage. It's a mix between Kiko Cubicle, Bomberman, and Adventures of Lolo. Various power-ups pop up on stage to help you. The graphics are a little simple, but they do the job. The music is really catchy. The game has a lot of charm and a lot of personality. But the worst of the bunch is F-16 Renegade. It's laughable, there's absolutely no music in this game. Controls are slippery and the sound effects are terrible. And don't forget about the huge bar at the bottom of the screen. After playing this, I just want to play Batsugun. Batsugun. But the game does have cool explosions, so there's that.
Hey, me again for the letter R. This was a tougher decision for me. There's lots of great NES titles to start with R, but I have to give it up to Rainbow Islands. Specifically, what I have in my hand here is the European version, which actually more closely represents the original coin-op than what was actually released here in the United States and Japan. So definitely give this one a check out, and it's actually really worth importing this because the game is relatively cheap, so even if you're buying it from the United Kingdom, paying that extra dollar amount for the conversion and the shipping, you won't be disappointed. This is a really great version.
S is for Super Mario Bros. 3. Sure, the original is classic and is what pops into mind when thinking about the original NES and its library of games, but Super Mario Bros. 3 is, in my opinion, far superior and is my personal favorite NES game of all time. Taking all the good things about the original and adding in creative level design and including new abilities like the raccoon and frog suits. This is the sequel to end all video game sequels, and while Super Mario Bros. Started the platformer genre, Super Mario Bros. 3 perfected it.
T is for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. TMNT came out on the NES in 1989 by Konami under the Ultra Games moniker in North America. It is a top-down game as well as a side-scrolling platformer. It is also a one-player game where you can play as all 4 Ninja Turtles individually, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Though it doesn't get as much praise as its 2 beat-em-up sequels, TMNT sold over 4 million copies and is the 7th best-selling NES game of all time. The game is notorious for being Nintendo hard. I think a lot of this is linked to the infamous underwater bomb defusing stage. This stage does require a lot of patience, but is by no means impossible to beat. Just expect to lose 1 or 2 turtles in the process, though. Though this game can be quite challenging, it is by no means unplayable and can be a lot of fun.
From the creators of Shadowgate and Deja Vu, Kamco Saika makes you Uninvited.
What's up, everybody? I am Mega Retro Man, and I'm going to be reviewing Uninvited for the NES. Uninvited is what I consider to be a multi-choice, point-and-click puzzle game. You wake up to see that your vehicle is plowed into a tree near a giant mansion, and realize that your older sister is gone. Venturing into this mysterious mansion, you collect magic and items along the way. But this is no ordinary mansion. Your character comes across various apparitions that if you make a wrong move, you will no longer be amongst the living, and you'll be getting familiar with that face every time you die. But all that death is made up when this little guy comes around. Finally, you will find your sister possessed and have to unleash some demons be gone action to her. I hope that you all give this game a try and enjoy it as much as I do. Once again, I am Mega Retro Man, and you now have all been Uninvited.
V is for Vice Project Doom. It sounds like a title that Dr. Evil would come up with, but it's not. It's got nothing to do with Miami Vice, it's got nothing to do with Doom, it's its own thing, it's on the NES. It's a side-scrolling action game like Castlevania or Power Blade. If you're into those games, you owe it to yourself to try Vice Project Doom. He's got a laser sword like Luke Skywalker, he's got a blaster like Han Solo, but he's better than either of them because he's airbrushed on the label. And look at that, he's got a nice girl on the label. You'll get a nice girl like that if you play Vice Project Doom, because that's what the label says, and labels never lie.
W is for Wrecking Crew. Wrecking Crew stars everyone's favorite Carpenter, Jesus. The game mainly consists of running around and demolishing all the walls and ladders in the stage. Sounds boring? It is, but fuck it, nostalgia. The enemies that chase you around the construction site are pretty rad. A sentient wrench, Foreman Spike, who's definitely not Wario, and Eggplant Alien Men, cause you know Eggplant's video games. Wrecking Crew is part of the Pro Gamble series, so you get to make your own stages. Which as an 80s kid, I was like, holy crap, I get to make and save my own stages? Then 15 minutes later, I realized you couldn't save stages. Thanks, Japan. Then good old Mario Maker showed up decades later after I got married and fat. Screw you, Japan. Wait, so in both games you can create your own stages and Mario has the same Village People outfit? They're the same game.
Xenophobe is a nice 25-cent word that means racist. The game is a watered-down port of the side-scrolling split-screen action arcade game from Midway. Someone at Midway must have really liked the movie Aliens, because this game shamelessly borrows from the sci-fi horror flick. I mean, just look at this artwork. You have alien eggs, aliens that cling to you, fast-moving aliens. And did I mention this artwork? The game's kinda neat, but don't expect hours of enjoyment. The arcade version had 3-player simultaneous play, but the NES version only has 2. I'm not a big fan of split-screen games. The action here is not very fast-paced, so it doesn't get too distracting. Just don't go expecting a masterpiece if you play this one. Y is for Yoshi's Cookie, not to be confused with the Fong block-type game which also stars Mario's dinosaur buddy. Yoshi's Cookie is a change of pace from your typical puzzle game, matching up cookie-shaped tiles with new ones appearing both horizontally and vertically. You can shift the tiles sort of like a sliding puzzle game in order to make matches and clear the board to progress from level to level. There's also a 2-player head-to-head game with hazards, which is pretty unique. I'd show it here, but playing 2-player games by yourself doesn't work out all that well. If you're into puzzle games, this one is one of my favorites.
What's up, guys? Lucius T here, and we saved the best for last. We're talking about Zelda. No, not the crappy one, the good one. Zelda 2 Adventures of Link. Woo! I've had it up to here with people saying this game isn't good. You damn revisionist history bullshit. This game is great. Now, I'm not even going to tell you why it's great, because you should already know. I'm going to address all the whiny bitches who say this game is too hard. You know why? It's because you are dumb. You are not supposed to go to Death Mountain after the first palace. You're supposed to go to the swamp and kill some Octoroks. Once you do that, you level up your sword, you beat the second palace, and then BAM! You hit the I win button because you just won a game. Well, you gotta play a little bit more, but you just accomplished what you needed, because then Death Mountain gets pwned like your mom on Saturday night. Woo! You need to get this game. You need to give it a chance. It's excellent. It's an action RPG. It's not like the other Zeldas. That's why it gets so much hate. But Zelda 2 is my favorite NES Zelda, and it always will be. Take care.
Thanks so much to all the great people who contributed to this video. It's really awesome, and I'm sure many of them, just like me, are really thrilled that this video is done, and now we all can watch it and enjoy it, and sharing our love for this gray box. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.